Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. And tonight's Raw was from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. And this was tonight's Raw was the first live Raw of the new year. And for the past 2 weeks, Raw and SmackDown have been taped because of the holidays, because of Christmas and New Year's. So tonight we got the first Raw show live of the new year, and tomorrow again the first live show for SmackDown of the new year. And WWE last year, it was one of the worst years for them, show wise and creative wise. Their ratings, the Raw ratings, have been on a downward spiral for 6 weeks, from what I read. So that's basically the majority of WWE in 2018. It was a terrible year for them, and we were promised that we were going to get some change. This is a new era, as what they're calling it. We're going to get some fresh new faces. We're going to get fresh matches. No more no more of these rematches that we see. Well, did we get change tonight? I didn't see no change. Where was the change? There was no fucking change tonight. And supposedly this is a new era for them. And besides, this show was fucking terrible tonight. It was absolutely fucking terrible. I mean, there was some stuff that I liked, but majority of the show, it was fucking terrible. But let's get on with the review. So the show opened up tonight. As soon as Raw started, we got a graphic of a picture of Mean Gene Okerland. Them paying tribute to him because sadly last Wednesday, we lost Mean Gene Okerland. He passed away at the age of 76, and Mean Gene, he was a good interviewer, announcer in his career in professional wrestling. He first started out in the AWA, and then he came to the WWF in the 80s, in the mid 80s, and then he went to WCW when he was there, and then he came back to WWE in 2001. And Mean Gene, he was before my time, before I started watching wrestling, and way before I was even born. But I've seen clips of Mean Gene's interviews, mainly his ones with Hulk Hogan, which his interviews with Hulk Hogan were the best, because Hogan would always go, "Well, you know something, Mean Gene? You know something, Mean Gene?" And those interviews with Hogan were great. Also, his interviews with Macho Man Randy Savage, Rowdy Piper, even at the 1990 Survivor Series, when he was there and he was waiting for the egg to hatch, and out came the Gobbledygooker. He was dancing around with the Gobbledygooker in the ring. And also, I enjoyed when Hogan turned heel. When Mean Gene Okerland was there, and he was interviewing Hogan after Hogan turned heel at Bash at the Beach '96. So Mean Gene Okerland, Mean Gene Okerland was there for was always interviewing Hogan. That's why I think of Mean Gene. When I think of Mean Gene, I always think of him interviewing Hulk Hogan, and among others. That's the one that clearly stands out to me, is when Mean Gene interviewed Hulk Hogan, because they were always really great. So yeah, so we had that, and we had that little picture tribute for Mean Gene. I mean, it's really a shame that he passed away. I remember the show that Mean Gene hosted on well, I'll get to that when I talk about more about Mean Gene, when I get to the the tribute that they did for him, which had Hulk Hogan come out. So yeah, so I'll get to that. But after they showed that graphic, that picture tribute for Mean Gene, we actually saw a brawl that happened between Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley backstage. And there was superstars trying to break them up, and they were still brawling. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be a good Raw. Maybe there really is change. But I like that they did something different, and not start off Raw with a 15-20 minute promo. So I give them credit for doing something different by opening Raw with a brawl between Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley. So we had that brawl, which I liked, and then we had John Cena coming out, and John Cena was advertised to be on Raw, and also he's going to be on SmackDown tomorrow night. And he came out. He welcomed everyone to Monday Night Raw. And he's like, welcome to the road to WrestleMania, because we're on the road to WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble's coming up. So basically, WWE is starting their road to WrestleMania. And so Cena says, just from that brawl, that was why Seth was fighting for his life. And he says, at WrestleMania, you either step up or you get left out. And Cena says he has to step up because he doesn't want to get left out of WrestleMania. And he then goes to announces that he is entering himself into the Royal Rumble match. And so that brings out Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre comes out, and he ends up saying he has waited for this moment for years. He goes on to say that he doesn't care about Cena or his hairdo. And he says all he cares about is Cena's 16 World Championships and how he main evented, a lot of WrestleManias, and how Vince called him the greatest of all time. And so McIntyre ends up saying to Cena that, well, he ends up calling Cena the greatest of all time. And Cena's like, oh, well, do you have a point? And so McIntyre says his point is that he has a reputation on taking out the greats. McIntyre goes on to say that he destroyed the Shield. He also destroyed Dolph Ziggler in a steel cage match, which we saw last week. And he goes on to say how he destroyed Kurt Angle and, took him out, and how he made Kurt tap out to his ankle lock. And so McIntyre says to Cena that he is the most dangerous man in WWE history, and he wants to destroy Cena. And so Cena, says to McIntyre, what makes him different than anyone else? And McIntyre says he's going to show Cena. So WWE, to me right here, WWE had something good right here. We could have saw John Cena versus Drew McIntyre. It would have been a good match. But then they dropped the ball, and we hear Leo Rush come out. He ends up saying, Seth Rollins has gone crazy, and he attacked him and Bobby Lashley backstage. And he says if something is not done with Seth Rollins, they are going to get a lawyer. And so Leo says the show is officially canceled if somebody doesn't do anything about Seth Rollins. And so we just see Seth Rollins comes out. He jumps Lashley from behind. Dean Ambrose comes out, starts throwing punches at Seth Rollins. And it's a brawl now. The brawl continues. So now it's brawls happening between Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, John Cena, and Drew McIntyre. Okay, so then Finn Balor's music hits. Balor comes out. He ends up hitting a sling blade to McIntyre. And then Balor ends up taking out everyone on the outside. And so Raw went to commercial. But I thought it was a good segment with Cena and McIntyre. Like I said, WWE had something good here. Could have saw John Cena versus Drew McIntyre, but then they dropped the ball and had to bring out Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley. This could have been something good. We could have saw Cena and McIntyre go at it one-on-one tonight. So with all these guys out here, you knew this was going to lead to a six-man tag, and that's what we officially got. A six-man tag team match between Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and John Cena versus Bobby Lashley, Dean Ambrose, and Drew McIntyre. And, I gotta say, this was a decent match, in my opinion. I somehow enjoyed this match. Although, it was pretty much leading to a predictable match with a six-man, tag. But it was decent. I sort of enjoyed it. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and John Cena end up winning the match. Seth Rollins end up hitting the stomp on Dean Ambrose to score the win. One highlight point in this match that I really liked was we saw Rollins. He ended up hitting a really awesome moonsault to the outside. He ended up taking out Dean Ambrose and Bobby Lashley. Looked really awesome, that moonsault. And so then, at the end of the match, Seth ended up hitting the stomp on Ambrose to score the win for him, Balor, and John Cena. So yeah, so it was an entertaining, it was a decent six-man tag team match. I liked it. Then we saw Triple H on the Titantron. He was talking to Sasha and Bayley. And Seth is looking up there thinking, Triple H was going to say something to Seth, give him an opportunity to have a rematch with Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. And so, Triple H was just talking to Sasha and Bayley that whole time. And so Seth ended up going to the back. So he goes backstage. Triple H has a cup of coffee in his hands. And then what was really funny was Seth ended up slapping the cup of coffee out of Triple H's hands. And he ends up saying to Triple H, he wants Ambrose. And he wants the Intercontinental Championship. And so Triple H tells him he's got the match. And also, the match will be Falls Count Anywhere. So we had the rematch for the Intercontinental Championship, but it was a Falls Count Anywhere match. So we got that. But all in all, the six-man tag team match, I said, was a decent match. I somewhat enjoyed it. So. And then we had, the honoring of Mean Gene Okerland. They end up honoring, tributing him with a 10-bell salute. And Hulk Hogan ended up coming out to pay his respects and tribute to Mean Gene Okerland. And there was a lot of controversy here of butthurt fans saying, "Oh, why is Hogan going to be here?" And yes, we all know about Hogan. We all know about what he did. But put that aside. He was here tonight to pay tribute to one of his friends, who was there for him during his career, who interviewed him a whole lot. So he was just there to pay his respects. Mean Gene was Hogan's friend. So I don't understand why some of these people are getting butthurt because of Hogan being here. You know, this is a good thing. This is a good thing that for what Hogan's doing, to pay tribute. So yeah, so Hogan ended up coming out, you know, to pay tribute to Mean Gene. He ends up saying that Mean Gene loved entertaining us. And then we got a really awesome, a really good, very well done, very emotional video package of Mean Gene's career. And it was very beautifully done, very well done, very emotional. I got really emotional just watching the clips. And what more can I say? It was very, like I said, it was very beautifully done. And after it was over, Hogan says, you know, Mean Gene was a one of a kind. He says, you know, we love Okerland, and you know, being out here without Okerland, he says, you know, Mean Gene's not here, but he's here in his heart. And you know, Hogan here was getting very emotional. You can tell why he had the glasses on. He was, you know, possibly tearing up, you know, just by him having the glasses on. And he says he loves Mean Gene, and he misses him. And we had, you know, the crowd, of course, chanting, you know, thank you, Mean Gene. And Hogan does, you know, the, you know, for old time stakes, he does the, well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene. And that was pretty good. But all in all, this was the best segment of the night. You know, just them honoring and paying tribute to Mean Gene. It was really good. The whole video package, like I said, was very beautifully done, very emotional. They did a good job with the video package, highlighting Mean Gene's career. But how Mean Gene passed away last week. This was revealed by his son, Todd Okerland, and he said that Mean Gene received 3 kidney transplants, and that he had suffered a fall, which caused his health to deteriorate in the weeks leading up to his death. So that's very sad. But Mean Gene, he was one of the best. He was one of the great interviewers, announcers there. And I remember watching when Mean Gene hosted. I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was back in like 2006. It was on MSG Network. It was called WWE Madison Square Garden Classics. Yeah, it debuted in the summer of 2006. And Mean Gene was the host of that show. And he would tell us, you know, stuff about, you know, what we're going to see in, you know, on the show. And that was pretty much, you know, from what I remember, you know, watching Mean Gene, just him hosting that show every Wednesday night. It was a highlight show of some WWE house shows that took place at Madison Square Garden. They had past Raw episodes that they showed. So yeah, so I remember, you know, Mean Gene from watching that show, and also like I said, watching the clips from when he interviewed Hogan, which I said that was one of the best. Whenever Mean Gene interviewed Hogan, when he interviewed Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, Andre the Giant. So yeah, so Mean Gene will be will be missed. So I even wished you know, I would have met Mean Gene at, you know, like an indie wrestling show, or if it was at a wrestling convention. I would have loved to meet Mean Gene. So yeah, but the whole segment of paying, you know, of honoring Mean Gene, tribute to him, it was the best segment of the night. I really enjoyed it. Really loved the video package. Then after that, we had the Lumberjack match, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable versus the Revival for the Raw Tag Team Championships. This match was terrible. This match was horrible. The crowd didn't give a shit about this match. It was dead silent throughout this match. It was dead silent that you could actually hear a pin drop. That's how quiet the crowd was for this. But all in all, the match ended in another controversy win, where we had Roode pushing Gable, you know, letting Gable roll up Scott Dawson. Scott Dawson's foot was on the rope. It was on the bottom rope, but the ref never saw it. So automatically by that, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable win. They retained the Raw Tag Team Championships. Match itself, it was terrible, in my opinion. Crowd did not give a shit about this match. So then we had Elias in the ring. He ends up saying that 2018, you know, was a good year for him. You know, he put out an album. He sold out MSG. Says he's been all across the United States and the world. And it goes on to say that it brought him here to Orlando. So Elias goes on to say that on January 27th, he will walk into Chase Field in Arizona, which is where the Royal Rumble is taking place. And he's going to win the Royal Rumble. So he's officially announcing that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble matchup. And he says he enjoyed the failures of Baron Corbin. He ends up going on to say that Corbin was on top of the world and running Raw into the ground. And he says Corbin's life now is a joke. And so Corbin comes out, you know, like Elias was going to go sing something, but Corbin ends up interrupting him. Corbin comes out saying he's here to help the crowd, and tells Elias to stop, and that we don't want to hear another mind-numbing performance. And Corbin says he should have everyone's respect and admiration, and that the crowd don't understand, and they disrespect him. And so Corbin goes on to say that he's announcing that he's entering himself in the Rumble, and he's going to win it and go to the main event at WrestleMania. Yeah, like that's ever going to happen. And so Elias cuts off Corbin and tells him to shut his mouth. And so Raw went to commercial after that. And then the match got underway when Raw came back. It was Baron Corbin versus Elias. You know, we saw this match already. The match itself was nothing. It was nothing great. So Baron Corbin ends up winning, end of the days on Elias. So Baron Corbin wins. All in all, nothing great in this match. Then after the match, we had Dean Ambrose end up cutting a promo. He ended up saying he's busting his butt to keep his promise to all of us. And he goes on to say that he never liked six-man tags anyway. I guess we all could say that because we're sick and tired of seeing six-man tags all the time. And he says he's our last line of defense against Seth Rollins. And he goes to say that it hurts more than we know that he has to hurt Seth. So Ambrose says he's done what he has to in order to bring balance back to WWE. And if Rollins gets the Intercontinental title back, it's game over for WWE. He says whether he has to beat him in the ring, whether he has to beat Seth in the ring, on the announce table, in the parking lot, out getting a hot dog, he's going to bury. He's going to burn Seth Rollins down. So that was the promo that Dean Ambrose cut, which was, okay promo. And then we had, oh god, this whole segment, this whole next segment right here, it was terrible. Braun Strowman ends up coming out, saying, he wants Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar are on the Titantron, and it's split. It's like split screen, where on the left side of the screen, on the left side of the TV screen, it was Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. On the right side, it was Braun Strowman. And, Heyman says he knows Braun was brought up in his household as a monster. So Heyman's like, he's going to give Strowman, a little education. And he goes on to say the change here is for Strowman's benefit. Because if Brock Lesnar came down to the ring to get these hands, Lesnar wouldn't have an opportunity at the Royal Rumble. He'd just have another victim. And Strowman ends up calling Lesnar a beastie boy and says he's standing in the ring waiting for him. So Strowman really wanted Lesnar to come out to the ring. And so Lesnar just ended up laughing. Strowman calls Lesnar out for hiding behind Paul Heyman, and Strowman reminds Lesnar that he's in the ring. So he was saying, why not Lesnar come down and get in his face? And Paul Heyman asks, if that's the best that he's got, that Strowman's got. And after a beat, Strowman asks, Lesnar if he ever thinks Heyman's ass ever gets jealous of all the crap that comes out of his mouth. Which, that was funny. And so, Brock Lesnar makes his way out to the ring alone. Paul Heyman didn't come out. So Lesnar was staring Strowman down. Lesnar was circling the ring, and he thinks that he's going to get in the ring. He's going to come into the ring with Strowman, but he ends up leaving, and Strowman ends up yelling for Lesnar to turn around. So Paul Heyman's out there. Paul Heyman was laughing. Slowly turns, and Strowman says at the Royal Rumble he's going to win. So that was the segment, but it was a terrible segment, in my opinion. It was really bad. Then we had and it gets worse. Jinder Mahal is out there with the Singh brothers and Alicia Fox, and he says he wants to find tranquility. So Alicia Fox just goes on to say Shanti. I'm like, oh my god, what's the point of this? Because apparently Jinder Mahal was taking on Apollo Crews, but then Ember Moon ended up coming out. So this turned into a mixed tag team match. It was Apollo Crews and Ember Moon versus Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. This match was fucking terrible. I did not give a shit about this match. Apollo Crews and Ember Moon win. Ember Moon ended up hitting the Eclipse to Alicia Fox. But it was a short match either way. But terrible fucking match. Then we had Alexa Bliss come out for her new talk show called A Moment of Bliss. Her guest is Ronda Rousey, the Raw Women's Champion. And so Ronda ends up coming out, Alexa wants, Ronda to shake her hand. Ronda ends up denying it. Ronda says this year has been extraordinary. That, the year has been extraordinary, but she wants to look forward and not back. And she wants to be a champion we can all be proud of. And so she goes on to say that she has to chase after her limits with a vengeance. She goes on to say there's one woman who's pushed everyone to their limits. A woman with more athleticism than Charlotte. A more harrowing story than Becky Lynch. She goes on to say a woman who is this business. The real Rocky Balboa of the women's division. The unsung hero of Monday Night Raw. Which she goes to mention is Sasha Banks. And so Alexa was, skeptical there, and she thought that Ronda was talking about her. And from there, some woman was like dry heaving, making the sound of someone dry heaving over the microphone, and it's revealed to be Nia Jax. So Nia Jax ends up coming out, asking if they should all leave so Ronda and Sasha can have a moonlit dinner. And Nia says that she knows Ronda wants to forget about her, but they have unfinished business. And she ends up saying the win at TLC was a fluke. That Ronda's win at TLC was a fluke. And so Nia goes on to say that, oh, Seth Rollins is getting his rematch. She should deserve one too. So that brought out Sasha Banks. Sasha comes out, says she's beyond honored for the kind words, and she loved to face Ronda for the Raw Women's Championship. And she says it'd be her pleasure to teach Ronda how to lose with dignity and class. And that ended up pissing off Nia. And she says there's a 300-pound Samoan standing in front of her who could break her face. And so she ends up telling, to go to the back of the line. This is what Nia was saying to Sasha. And Sasha then challenges Nia to a match. And this is for the #1 contendership to face Ronda for the Raw Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble. So we got that. And so that was a match. Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax, #1 contendership to face Ronda for the Raw Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble. This match itself, it was meh. Wasn't that great, in my opinion. Oh, Sasha was decent, was very entertaining, like always. But Sasha had Bayley out there, outside, and of course Nia had Tamina out there. There are points where Bayley was trying to take down Tamina, but Tamina ended up taking out Bayley, and Sasha won with the bank statement on Nia Jax. So Sasha is now going to face Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble. But we all know that at the Royal Rumble, Ronda's still going to walk out of the Royal Rumble as the Raw Women's Champion. Ronda's possibly not dropping the title until WrestleMania. So that's how the way I see it. Ronda's probably going to drop the title at WrestleMania. So, yeah, but all in all, the match itself wasn't that great between Sasha and Nia Jax, even though Sasha, was decent. Then we had the main event. Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental Championship in the Falls Count Anywhere match. And before the match got underway, Dean Ambrose ended up coming out. Seth Rollins then attacked him from behind, and they were just, going at it. They went at it in the ring. They went backstage, and we saw Dean Ambrose end up slamming Seth onto, the crates back there. And eventually, later on in the match, they were back at ringside. We had Dean Ambrose end up pulling the padding that holds the the concrete floor that they put on the concrete floor, and he wanted to put and hit Seth on the concrete, and he was gonna dirty deeds Seth on the concrete, but Seth ended up reversing it, ended up delivering a back body drop to Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose ended up hitting the concrete, and Seth Rollins ended up hitting the stomp to Ambrose, which made it look like Seth was going to win back the Intercontinental Championship. But Bobby Lashley ended up coming out, ended up taking out Seth Rollins. They ended up brawling once again, just like how it was at the beginning of the show. And Lashley ended up hitting Seth with the spear, and it eventually led to Dean Ambrose pinning Seth and win the match. So Dean Ambrose retains the Intercontinental Championship, thanks to Bobby Lashley. And after the match, Lio Rush retrieves a table from under the ring. Him and Lashley end up setting up the table, and Lashley then puts Seth Rollins through the table, and that's how Raw ended for tonight. So yeah, so that was that. But the Falls Count Anywhere match between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, it was a decent match, but we all knew that Dean Ambrose was going to retain anyway. We knew that Bobby Lashley was going to interfere. So yeah, so that was Monday Night Raw tonight. So yes, anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review, and definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all back here tomorrow night for the SmackDown review. So until then, I'll see you all tomorrow night.